Today is day 46 of the war in Gaza against Palestinian terrorists. It is November 21st. It is 5:10 p.m. here in Israel, 10:10 a.m. in the United States on the Eastern Coast. And let's jump in with good news. Israel has been doing absolutely incredible when it comes to Gaza. Last night, they went in and went into wealthy neighborhoods where the leaders of the Palestinian terrorists are not the top leaders, but the leadership that's still in Gaza. And they have found over 30 tunnels in those neighborhoods. One would think that maybe the wealthy would only stick tunnels inside the poorer neighborhoods where the majority of the tunnels are, but even the wealthy neighborhoods willingly gave in and have tunnels under their neighborhoods, and this allows them to escape when Israeli troops come in. But those neighborhoods are slowly starting to empty out as Israeli soldiers get closer and closer and start hunting Hamas leaders. The IDF began entering tunnels now instead of just blowing up the tunnels and sponge bombing them. What they have done is they've now waited to find both entrances to the tunnel. And that way, what has been happening is that as they attack one entrance to the tunnel, people are escaping outside the other. Now, the IDF has the time and the capabilities of looking for both ends of the tunnel and therefore waiting at both sides of the tunnel, attacking both sides and making sure if Hamas or terrorists come out of the tunnel, so there are soldiers there waiting for them to eliminate them. So that's been something very, very exciting development that Israel has become even more successful at. Hamas leaders are having trouble making it down to southern Gaza now. Now it is almost impossible, as far as we know, to cross from North Gaza, which is almost completely controlled by Israeli soldiers, to make it down into South Gaza, which Israel has yet to enter, at least in as formidable a way as they've entered in the south. In the north, excuse me, and but to get from north to south, now you have to cross Israeli checkpoints, and that's great. In a operation last night, Israel destroyed a weapons factory, which went up in a huge explosion, much more than when they destroyed other buildings that Hamas is in. So that weapons factory, weapons laboratory was destroyed, which is great. They are, let's see, other great news. Israel is now starting to focus its attention on something called the Indonesian Health Center. This is a hospital inside of Gaza, semi-hospital, which the IDF, just like the other hospitals, the IDF is convinced that Hamas has placed headquarters underneath this hospital, and therefore, and is slowly surrounding it. In an impressive operation last night, the IDF crossed 8 kilometers of space in one night, getting to the hospital. Its goal is now to completely surround the hospital, and then, just like in the other hospitals, start attacking the militants in the hospital, then destroying the tunnels and the headquarters underneath the hospital. So that's what's been happening last night. That was a tremendous victory. Moving up north to news from Hezbollah. So yesterday we reported on the fact that Hezbollah fired missiles at an IDF base and destroyed a lot of the base, but there were no soldiers there. It was curious. Two things were curious about this. Number one, Hezbollah's attacks, its missile attacks, have not been that successful, as we'll explain. And the IDF is usually able to either divert the missile to land somewhere else in an empty field or to shoot out of the air. So I was curious as to how these were able to land, especially land on an IDF base, which you would think would be protected. And also, the carnage in pictures was tremendous. I was curious why they released pictures from the carnage, almost like giving Hezbollah victory pictures. And how, if there was so much damage, did nobody get injured? Well, it turns out there were no soldiers on the base. Hezbollah hit an empty base. Now, that's curious. That would seem to suggest that the IDF knew that the base was about to be hit. And what a theory from Yaakov Katz, who's a military writer, an expert author, former editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. What he suggests is that this was somewhat coordinated between the IDF and Hezbollah, that Hezbollah needed to hit something and show some sort of victory, and the IDF abandoned a base and let it be open and sort of by doing so, let it be known that it was a viable target to hit. If you look at the pictures, it doesn't seem like anything valuable was hit. It looks like a bunch of shacks were hit, but that would make sense as to why the pictures were given out to give Hezbollah sort of like this victory, which sounds strange, but it allows Hezbollah to stay out of the war by showing that to whoever they need to show it to, whether it's their people, their soldiers, fellow terrorists, the people in Iran. I'm not exactly sure who they need to impress, but that they have done something, and this shows that they have participated in the war effort. Okay, it's an interesting theory. I can't tell you if it's correct or not. Speaking of Hezbollah yesterday is getting very, very desperate. They fired 25 missiles last night at Israel. None of them hit anything of value. And it's interesting. The reason why this is so fascinating is the most missiles that Hezbollah has fired in one shot shows a level of desperation, but also opens themselves up for what happened next, which was a massive IDF counteroffensive at the areas where the missiles were launched from, which then kills tens of Hezbollah terrorists. So they're getting desperate. They're revealing their locations and hitting things that don't seem to have much value, but that it reeks of desperation. Lastly, as we speak now, and it seems like every one of the last 7 of these briefings I've given, I've said that the reports are that we're imminently close to a hostage deal. This hostage deal has been on the table for it seems like at least publicly for a week. That we know that they've been negotiating this deal. We think it's for 50 hostages, Jewish hostages, in exchange for 100 or 150 Hamas women and children that are in Israeli jails, plus some sort of a ceasefire. And then no idea if this is true or not. It's causing great angst among the Israeli people, great division. A lot of people think that this should not be done, that a deal like this shouldn't be done. Sinwar, the head of Hamas inside of Gaza, not sure if he's still there, but he was at least at the beginning of this operation. So Sinwar was once an Israeli prisoner, and was given in exchange to back to Hamas in exchange for Gilad Shalit, which was a deal that showed more than 1,000 terrorists, 1,050 terrorists in exchange for one IDF soldier. Sinwar was given back. He's the one leading this battle. A lot of people question the wisdom of stopping the battle and putting more terrorists back on the street when we're fighting a war against them. And this isn't even for all the hostages. The other side of the argument is if we can get 50 hostages saved freely and healthily back to their families, then that's something that we shouldn't look away from. It's difficult to know what the proper way is. And I'm not sure anybody other than a prophet talking directly to God can know 100% what the right move is. Okay. Bad news is China has taken the Palestinian side in this argument. Now, one shouldn't think that China's actually sat down and calculated who is correct in this battle. This is all about geopolitics and about weakening America. If America takes one stance, China is going to take the other in order to weaken America's position in the international community. So this shows that America doesn't lead. America's not the leader at all, and therefore China joins some really august members of the global community who are always worried about human rights. We're talking about countries like Iran, Russia, and South Africa, who are just bastions of human rights, who have all taken the Palestinian side. It's becoming abundantly clear in the world which, if you've taken the Palestinian side, chances are you're a despot dictator who abuses their own people and therefore finds common cause with the Palestinians. While democratic free countries are obviously supporting Israel because they're fighting terrorists. Okay. So that's the update. Okay, let's answer questions. The first question I got is what my opinion is on Haaretz newspaper. Haaretz newspaper is a left-leaning newspaper. I think that it plays a valuable role in Israel and that it's the voice of the left wing in Israel. At the same time, there are times where I find some of the stuff that they publish absolutely despicable. They publish what I think a lot of times are lies about Israel and slander about Israel that you'll find from some of the worst people in the world. So I think it has its role, but I think that sometimes it gets carried away. Why is there no international law in Gaza? So it's a great question. There is international law does apply to Gaza as much as it applies to anywhere else, but Hamas doesn't feel that it needs to keep to international law, right? International law doesn't mean anything to them. So that's why international law doesn't apply. It applies to Israeli soldiers. Israeli soldiers keep international law strictly. What is international law on attacking the hospital? What is the rule? So the law on attacking hospitals is that you can't attack hospitals. That's a violation of international law. Hospitals are medical centers. But if one has evidence that a hospital and a medical center are being used not as a medical center, but as headquarters for an army, and to attack you. So then as long as you give 24 hours notice under international law, you can then attack the hospital. Because you have to give notice and you have to allow the patients and doctors a way to escape. Israel gave 2 weeks notice. So it fulfilled its obligations under international law. What's my opinion on everything that's happening in the Shifra Hospital? So Shifra Hospital, it's not Shifra. Shifra is a Jewish name. Shifra Hospital is I think it's disgusting that and cynical that Palestinians have used it for terrorism. There's no other way of looking at it. It's the culture among Palestinian terrorists and Palestinian extremists, and it seems to have the support of the Palestinian community, is that winning should be done at any means and any way possible. Rape, kidnapping, nothing. There's no lines. There's nothing that's unacceptable in their march to killing Jews. It's unfortunate that we have evil like that exists, and it is evil. Do you think if and when the trade is made, Israel will go on with it? If the trade happens, Israel has to go on with it because it's trading for prisoners for prisoners that Israel holds in its jails. Okay. China might be playing an important role here. China does not want a regional war that might disrupt the Middle East oil supplies and cripple China's economy. It seems possible that China would take military action to protect the Middle East oil supplies. What, if anything, is the Israeli press reporting on China's role in trying to limit the war? So we spoke a little bit about China in the beginning. I don't see China trying to limit the war, and I definitely don't see China getting involved militarily. I think that would be hard. If you think that oil spikes and shortages of oils would harm China's economy, war would destroy it. So I don't see China getting involved militarily. What would Israel make the deal exchanging women and children hostages for women and children inmates associated with Hamas? If they are a threat, it may possibly go back to helping Hamas. I think that if a deal is made, the assumption is that the people that they're trading in for could very well go back to terrorism. There's no guarantee against that. So if we will see if Israel will make that deal or not. I think that a lot of the reasons why the deal has been held up has been because of Israel. That's what the reports say. And therefore, it seems like they would make the deal. Okay, that's the end of our video for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below the video in the comments, and I'll try my very best to answer them tomorrow. May we have victory, peace, and hostages come home securely.